Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Well, today we are doing a bit of a different episode because as I've nearly gone through the entire game of Dark Souls, I'm going to put a bit of a explanation to what the hell I was actually doing, because I probably should have done this earlier, but never mind. So, there's a whole lot of things you can know about Dark Souls, from rolling, to shields, to weight, to every fucking type of thing. But I think I'm going to start with the simplistic one, which is weapons, weight, and just weapons, weight, shields, and armor. And first off, we'll be going for weapons. There are many different types of weapons in Dark Souls. There's little knives, there is gigantic fucking great swords. There's medium stuff, there is really fucking huge swords that you can even block with because they are fucking gigantic, and they range from all different types of attacks. To showcase one, here is an S-stock, which is basically a thrusting sword, which does this. This is small attack, large attack, which is a type of slice which is used, well, basically to bait an attack. Because you think it's going to be a slice and then it's a thrust, because fuck you. Or you think it's going to be thrust and then it's a slice. It also, as all weapons in the game, has a charging attack which you can trigger by running and then normal attacking. That is the basics of this weapon. There is many different types, as I've said before, and it's good to experiment to whichever you like best. Which this you can compare to something like the Zweihander, which is rather good, but is incredibly slow. But of course still has a running attack. Like that. You can also go from a normal swipe to a heavy attack to back to normal snipe if you have enough stamina with it. So yeah. Next off, we have something important, which is there's this guy who has a lovely hat. So let's just examine how lovely that hat is. You look incredibly gay, my friend. There's also different things about weapons, which is their scaling, which you can see down there as the param bonus. It is basically how well a weapon scales with specific stats that you can upgrade. That muscle is strength, the hand is dexterity, and the other thing is, then next to it is sorcery, and then it's faith, which is forecasting miracles. Over there, you also have the requirement parameters, which is basically how much strength and dexterity, or the rest, how much of it you need to actually wield the weapon sufficiently. If you can't wield the weapon sufficiently, then you'll swing it incredibly slowly, you'll do almost no damage, and if it's a shield, then just like with a normal weapon, it takes a long time to actually use it as a shield, as you can see here. The other thing that scaling affects is how much damage it gets from upgrading endurance, or not, strength and dexterity. So as you can see, I don't meet the requirements, so this thing doesn't scale for me at all. But if we take a weapon like this very highly reinforced dagger, then if I do the thing, then it scales a lot better. Reinforcement is basically the process of upgrading the weapon itself through a blacksmith, which we'll get to in time. I did a particularly awful job at explaining this. Basically, to sum it up quickly, souls is your current souls, required souls is how many souls you need for the next level. Above that you have the level, of course it increases each level, how much souls are actually required of you. And under that there is vitality, which is just increases your health by a large margin compared to most stats, which get increased a lot more incrementally by an upgrade. There's attunement, which gives you more attunement slots. As far as I know, you need 4 per attunement slot, and 4 is probably the best amount you can have, so 16 is the most you should dump into it unless you really want to invest in just having a lot of slots and a lot of spells to use in those slots. Endurance is the measurement of how much stamina you have and how much equipment load you have. We'll get to equipment load later. Stamina is just used for everyday stuff like rolling, blocking, not getting your head taken off by traps, stuff like that. There is strength and dexterity, which are the main stats governing if you can wield a staff, if you can use it to kill people, or if it's going to deal 0 damage because you didn't invest in them. There's also resistance, which you should always ignore because it just increases incrementally how many resistances you have, and poison resistance. However, just leveling up normally does that, so it's pointless to put any stats into it. There is, of course, intelligence, which is what we'll be using in this playthrough, and which makes weapons such as weapons scaling with intelligence a lot more powerful, and also lets you use sorceries, because there's actually a threshold for sorceries that if you do not reach a certain intelligence, you can't use them at all. And the same is true for faith with miracles. And that's basically the gist of this. The only last thing is humanity, which is how much humanity you currently have on you. This only counts for liquid humanity. The difference between those two will be addressed in the playthrough itself. Dodging and shield part of this video, where we'll be going over dodging. Dodging is, well, rolling away. You can usually strafe around an enemy if you have fast rolling, and if you're fast enough you can even stab them in the back for a lot of damage, and in some weapons cases even more damage, because they gain extra. There are also rings to enhance your ability to do even more damage. There is nothing much to say about dodging other than the fact that if you dodge directly into an attack, as I'm trying to showcase here, as you could see I was still mid-animation but I still took damage, and that over there as well. So unlike in something like Enter the Gungeon where it's a full invincibility, it just helps the weapon not collide with you. Now, next off we'll be covering shields. Or I also did a terrible job of explaining how this exactly works. Basically, there are 3 types of shields: medium, fast, medium, small, and large shields. The main difference is that small shields generally do not block all damage. We'll go over that in a second, but just keep that in mind. Medium shields usually block all of the damage, but they have a smaller stability than larger shields. And large shields, well, basically they take a little bit longer to actually put in front of yourself to block the attack, but are generally have really high stats in all defenses and have a much higher stability. However, they do require a lot more strength to wield most of the time, especially true with Hevel's shield and the Black Iron shield. Some shields also have special abilities, such as this piercing shield, which allows you to step forward and damage an enemy, but that trades parrying. Parrying will be showcased in a second, and this ability is shared with the medium shield, the crystal one. But this also makes them a lot, especially because small shields are generally used for parrying, it makes them have some type of weakness. And in the crystal shield's case, that's one of many weaknesses that it might have if you want to continue using it for a long time. And I'm just gonna let myself ramble on with this bullshit for a second. So, have fun with that. It does. How much of the attack it blocks and how much stamina it takes will be covered shortly after I dispatch these guys. As you could see, just as he was about to attack me, I parried his attack and opened him up for an attack, which is a lot more devastating than the usual one. It takes a bit to get used to, and I personally do not like it, but if you want to go for an awesome swordsman, then that is the type of attacks you can use. The base strength of a shield is showcased in its stats, just the same as everything else. You want to look at the other side of the page, the damage reduction. Here you can see how much physical damage it absorbs, how much magic damage, fire damage, and lightning damage it also absorbs, as well as its stability. Stability, well, I'm not entirely sure how it works, but basis is the more stability you have, the less stamina it will take for you to block an attack. And the better the physical attack of it is. Bleh. Bleh. So basically, physical reduction, magic damage reduction, fire damage reduction, and lightning damage reduction. These all tell you how much of the attack that's coming into you it will block, given you have the stamina to block it. Stability is basically the stat that determines how much stamina you will need to block it. The more there is, the less stamina you will be required. Also, all shields have a scaling, although most of them are just D. And this guy has C as well, because it's designed to be used by more dexterity-centered abilities. As you can see, different shields have different values, and also different shields have different statuses that they give you. For example, the spider shield gives you increased resistance to poison, and the grass crest shield gives you an increased stamina recovery, which is rather good if you do not want to block, as its actual block is weaker than most medium shields. Next up on our list we have blacksmiths. Blacksmiths allow you to enhance the weapon itself through reinforcements. You can reinforce in various ways. Just on this guy you can reinforce normally, then you can reinforce normally, raw, enchanted, magic, pyromancies, everything. There's a lot of types of enchantment and they all favor different builds. If you want to go for a basic build, then I would highly recommend going for the basic enchantment, which basically means you go and level up any weapon to 5, then you get the large ember, give it to this guy, level it up over here, then do that again and you can level it up all the way up to 15 using the Titanite slab. In order to level up everything to its max potential, you'll need a slab. And there is several types of slab in the game. There is the normal Titanite slab, there is blue, there is red, and I think that's it. And they all used for different things. For example, for raw reinforcements, you need the normal one. For divine reinforcements, you need the white one, which I actually forgot in the thing. And this can be found around the game world. The slabs are one of a kind, so I would highly recommend seeing how well you like a weapon before enforcing it. Also, one blacksmith can't do everything for you. There's various types of blacksmiths all around the map, and they all deal with different things. This guy over here deals with divine, occult, and normal reinforcements. Then there is a guy near New Londo, which deals with magic plus magic up to 15, and enchanted reinforcements. There's a blacksmith in the catacombs who deals with flame and chaos flame reinforcements, and there is a giant who deals with crystal, lightning, and boss weapon creation. First off, they have a bunch of giant fucking trees. And dragons as well. And everything was incredibly fucking boring. Except for the dragons, I guess, because they looked cool. However, once they got past how cool they looked, it was probably incredibly boring for them to exist, because, as the name suggests, they are everlasting, and as such, they experience boredom for the rest of eternity. Nevertheless, underneath this place, there was also a bunch of fucking nothingness. Just darkness. And a bunch of little crawling dudes. Which were really fucking weird and looked more like zombies than anything else, to be honest. And with these guys, somehow, with I don't know fucking how, nobody really knows, a fire started. I don't understand how, but this fire also had a couple of souls, which you could take because you were thieving little shit. And the most prominent thieving little shits was a guy named Gwyn, who was the leader of a bunch of fancy-looking knights whose helmets looked like they were likely squish your head if you tried to wear it in real life. There was also just a bunch of skeletons, who apparently was the first of the dead. However, I do not know how he was the first of the dead, because he's made of at least 50 fucking people, so that makes no goddamn sense, unless they were just quadruple million conjoined twins together. There were also the Witch of Islith, who was actually less of a dickhead, while also still being a thieving little shit, because she actually handed it out to her daughters and one to her only son. And thus they had that sold together, which was rather nice of them. And there was also the last guy, who everyone seems to forget about because he most of the time does fuck all, and that is the furtive pygmy, which is the father of all humans as far as I know. And he just took a very, very small soul, a dark soul, if you will, and just hid away because he was a weak little shite. Well, Gwyn and his other pals were a bit fussy being down there in the dark, with now at least some lighting in the background, but it was still very ominous and probably was hard to sleep with that in your retinas. So they decided to invade the dragons, and here they found that these were incredibly fucking hard to kill, because they were fucking immortal. However, there was a fourth boy, Seath the Scaleless Snack, who really hated the other dragons because they had fancy scales and he did not. So he basically betrayed them, murdered a whole fucking lot of them, himself probably, and fucking everyone did their best and just murdered everything because, hey, genocide, that's fun. Also, all the badass looking trees were all massacred by the fire witches because they were bitches. I guess that's what you get. Sharing is caring, but if they don't want to share the trees with anyone, they'd rather burn it to the fucking ground. So after that, there was pretty nice. It's prosperity, fire and everything was light, and yay. And then it started to fade. And that's where we pick up, because as the fire fades, more and more people become undead, and thus undying. And you're one such person. And they don't really like you things. They don't really like you at fucking all. So they just threw you into prison, and it's now your job to make it through all of this, kill all the lords, kill Gwyn, and then, well, what they want you is to ring the fire. Will you actually do it? Well, it's up to you, I guess. But you might not see another option.